At a joyous baby shower in Columbus, Ohio, what should have been a celebration of new life became the stage for a marriage's public death. Teresa Callahan had meticulously organized this spring-themed gathering for her pregnant daughter Jennifer, arranging every detail with the care of a woman who had spent decades putting others first. The community center buzzed with warm conversations and laughter as family and friends admired tiny booties and onesies, anticipating the arrival of Teresa's first grandchild. Then, Gregory Callahan, Teresa's husband of 38 years, shattered the festive atmosphere with an announcement that would echo through everyone's memory. "I'm moving out tonight. I've met someone who truly appreciates me." His words sliced through the cheerful chatter, creating a silence so profound it seemed to press against everyone's eardrums. Across the room, an unfamiliar young woman awkwardly raised her mimosa glass, her gesture hanging in the air like a question mark. Jennifer, radiant in her 7th month of pregnancy, had been examining a pair of tiny yellow booties when her father's words registered. The joy drained from her face as comprehension dawned. In that moment, Teresa surprised everyone, perhaps most of all herself, by responding with unwavering composure. Placing a steady hand on her daughter's shoulder, she looked directly at Gregory and said, "I'm happy you found your path." After quietly promising Jennifer she would call later, Teresa walked through the stunned crowd and out of the community center, her head held high despite the weight of 38 years crashing down around her. Outside, the May sunshine felt warm against her face, a stark contrast to the cold reality that had just unfolded inside. Teresa Callahan, at 61 years old, was a retired school librarian who had just watched her marriage publicly implode. But what the stunned guests inside didn't know was that Teresa wasn't caught off guard by Gregory's announcement. She had been preparing for this moment for months, settling into her sleek new Lexus, a purchase Gregory had criticized as too extravagant for someone retired. Teresa pulled out her phone with hands that trembled, not from sadness, but from anger. She composed a brief text message containing a secure link and the simple words, "You might want to check this when you have a moment." As she drove away, she glimpsed Gregory in her rearview mirror, bursting out of the building with his face flushed, frantically checking his phone. Teresa knew exactly what he was discovering: comprehensive documentation of every financial maneuver she had methodically executed over the past 3 months. The vacation house in Sandusky was now solely in her name. Their joint savings had been carefully and legally redistributed. The retirement accounts were protected under an airtight trust her attorney had established. Years earlier, such decisive action would have been unimaginable for a woman who had always asked permission before making purchases and who had handed over her teaching paychecks for better management. The transformation began the previous Christmas during their traditional family dinner. While preparing dessert in the kitchen, Teresa noticed Gregory's phone light up with a message that read, "Missing you already. Last night was perfect." The sender was listed as Angela B. After 37 years of marriage, Teresa had developed an intuition for such things. This wasn't a colleague or an innocent friendship. This was something else entirely. Rather than confronting Gregory immediately, Teresa began paying careful attention to his changing patterns. His once predictable routines became erratic. Monthly fishing trips extended to every weekend. Late nights at the office increased despite his supposed preparation for retirement from the investment firm where he had worked for 3 decades. Credit card statements revealed charges at expensive restaurants for exactly 2 people, far too upscale for business meetings. When Gregory commented one February evening that she seemed distracted, asking if everything was all right, Teresa almost laughed at the irony. "Just thinking about our future," she replied honestly. Gregory nodded absently and delivered his favorite phrase. "Don't worry about that. I've got everything under control." Those words had been his mantra throughout their marriage. He had said them when they bought their first home, when they invested in company stock options, when they made decisions about their children's education. For decades, Teresa had believed him because he was the expert, the successful investment advisor who managed millions for clients. What could a school librarian possibly know about money? But watching him pretend to read his newspaper while his mind was clearly elsewhere, Teresa realized something crucial. Gregory's real betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was keeping her financially ignorant for decades, creating a power imbalance she could no longer accept. The next day, Teresa made an appointment with Valerie Peterson, a financial advisor recommended by her friend Dorothy, who had navigated her own difficult divorce. After reviewing Teresa's situation, Valerie was direct. You need a crash course in taking control of your financial life, and you need to move quickly but carefully. What followed was an intensive month of appointments, paperwork, and secret financial maneuvers. Teresa met with Elizabeth Winters, a lawyer specializing in high-asset divorces. She gathered documents, made copies, and cataloged every asset they owned. She learned that Ohio's equitable distribution laws meant marital property would be divided fairly, though not necessarily equally. The scope of Gregory's financial concealment shocked Teresa. Beyond their primary residence and vacation home, there were investment properties she hadn't known existed, stock portfolios, and retirement accounts with balances that made her eyes widen. "He kept all this from me?" she asked, stunned by the statement totals. Elizabeth explained that financial concealment was unfortunately common, but now Teresa had both knowledge and power. Following her legal team's advice meticulously, Teresa opened her own bank accounts and began strategically transferring funds from their joint accounts, not all at once, which could appear vindictive, but gradually and systematically. She updated beneficiary designations on insurance policies, secured copies of important documents, and most satisfyingly, transferred their lakefront cottage in Sandusky into her name alone. Throughout this process, Teresa maintained complete normalcy at home. She prepared Gregory's favorite meals, listened to his work stories, and even feigned disappointment when he announced another weekend fishing trip, knowing full well that fishing meant a boutique hotel in Cincinnati with Angela B. When Jennifer asked for help hosting her baby shower, Teresa threw herself into the planning, grateful for the distraction. Gregory seemed pleased that she was occupied, making it easier for him to slip away unnoticed. What Teresa never anticipated was that he would choose their daughter's celebration as the venue for his dramatic announcement. After the shocking revelation at the baby shower, Teresa retreated to her new apartment, a minimalist, modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows offering stunning views of the Columbus skyline. The sleek, contemporary furniture was nothing like their traditional colonial home, representing the new Teresa she was still getting to know. The following morning brought difficult conversations with their children. Jennifer called, her voice thick with tears, humiliated by the scene at her baby shower and confused by Gregory's claims that Teresa had taken everything. William, their son who had flown in from Portland, was equally bewildered by his father's midnight visit and frantic accusations about stolen retirement funds. Teresa found herself in the position of explaining what Gregory had conveniently omitted. From his version of events, his public announcement of leaving his wife for another woman during their pregnant daughter's celebration. Some friends and family were appalled by Gregory's behavior, while others were shocked by Teresa's financial maneuvering. However, Teresa's carefully laid plans faced an unexpected complication when she met with Elizabeth the following week. Gregory's attorney was contesting the property transfer and claiming bad faith, but more disturbing was the revelation of Gregory's hidden financial problems. Credit card statements showed tens of thousands in debt, a high-interest personal loan, and a second mortgage on their home that Teresa had never signed. Even more shocking was the discovery that Angela Blackwood wasn't Gregory's girlfriend, but a former client, and that an ethics investigation had been ongoing for 6 months regarding their inappropriate relationship. The firm was considering termination, and if evidence of financial mismanagement was found, Gregory could lose his professional license entirely. The situation took an even more dramatic turn when Angela Blackwood appeared at Teresa's apartment, requesting to speak with her. The young woman revealed that she had never been having an affair with Gregory. She was his victim. As a young widow who had inherited a substantial sum, Angela had been assigned to Gregory as a client. Over time, he had made unauthorized investments, taken excessive fees, and diverted funds to cover his own mounting debts. When Angela discovered the fraud and threatened to report him, Gregory began manipulating her, convincing her that no one would believe her accusations and that he could make it appear she had authorized everything. His threatening phone call after she finally went to the ethics board with proof of his misconduct prompted her to warn Teresa, whom she believed might also be in danger. Angela provided Teresa with a flash drive containing comprehensive documentation of Gregory's fraudulent activities, altered statements, forged authorizations, and evidence of systematic theft. This revelation transformed Teresa's understanding of her situation entirely. Her husband hadn't just betrayed her with another woman, he had committed serious financial crimes that had potentially ruined lives. as Gregory's professional world collapsed around him, with his firm placing him on administrative leave and the investigation expanding to include additional victims. Teresa faced the most difficult decision of her life. She could use the evidence to negotiate a favorable settlement or turn everything over to authorities and watch Gregory face criminal prosecution. The settlement negotiations revealed the full extent of Teresa's newfound power. She demanded full ownership of both properties, 70% of all investment accounts, a lump sum alimony payment, and complete separation from any liability related to Gregory's professional misconduct. In exchange, she offered her silence, at least temporarily. When Gregory and his attorney initially rejected the terms as unreasonable, Teresa revealed that she possessed Angela's documentation of his fraudulent practices. The threat of criminal exposure quickly changed their position, and Gregory accepted the settlement with only one modification: ongoing visitation rights with his future grandchild. Teresa agreed to this request with one stipulation: that Gregory complete an ethics course in financial counseling. When he asked why she would include such a requirement, Teresa replied simply, "Because our grandchild deserves a grandfather who understands right from wrong, something you seem to have forgotten along the way." The birth of baby Eliza Grace marked a new chapter for the fractured family. Despite sitting on opposite sides of the hospital room, Teresa and Gregory shared the joy of becoming grandparents. In the months that followed, Gregory's career in financial services ended permanently. He moved to a small apartment, started therapy, and began the humbling process of rebuilding his life. Teresa, meanwhile, embraced her new independence. She sold the family home, traveled to destinations she had always dreamed of visiting, and volunteered at the library where she once worked. As she slowly repaired relationships damaged by the betrayal and her necessary but painful response, she reflected on her transformation. When her friend Dorothy observed that Teresa had completely changed over the past year, Teresa offered a gentle correction. "I'm exactly the same person. I just finally allowed her to emerge." Looking back on her journey from betrayal to empowerment, Teresa realized that the greatest victory wasn't in the assets she secured or the dignity she maintained. It was in discovering she had been capable of rescuing herself all along. The story of Teresa Callahan serves as a powerful reminder that it's never too late to take control of one's life, that knowledge truly is power, and that sometimes the most profound transformations come not from changing who we are, but from finally allowing our true selves to emerge from the shadows where others have kept us hidden.